Okay, so to start, let's put our palms together and we recite homage to the original teacher. Homage to the original teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the original teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the original teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni. Verses of opening of the Dharma. The unsurpassable, profound and wondrous Dharma is difficult to encounter even in hundreds of millions of kalpas. Now I see it, hear it, receive and uphold it. I vow to understand the true meaning of the Tathagata. So today we're going to start explanation of the path to Buddhahood. And let me just give you a brief introduction why I chose to use this book. Path to Buddhahood. In Chinese is 成佛之道. This book was written by Master Yinshun from Mahayana Buddhism in Taiwan. He is one of the most prominent, influential, contemporary Buddhist monk in Chinese Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism in Taiwan. The scope of his work is 7 million and more Chinese characters. And then this particular book, Path to Buddhahood, is actually part of his collection of, it's called Miao Yunji, collection of the wondrous cloud. 24 volumes, and this is volume number 12. And this particular one was published in 1960. And then when he gave this lecture, he gave it to bhikshus and also bhikshunis. It's down the road when I explain more, you will know the significance. He really took care of the Buddhist nuns. And then he cared about their education, Buddhist education. And so I even met some Buddhist nuns that are 80-something-year-olds now that have been in the first few lectures. So this is considered the core curriculum text for Buddhist education in Taiwan. And then it is used in the Buddhist Institute founded by Master Yinshun, Fuyan, Buddhist Institute Fuyan in Hsinchu, Taiwan. And this book is considered the manual for training practitioners and also monks. And the level of difficulty of all the Master Yinshun's books, he has level 1, which is basic. Level 2 would be intermediate. And then level 3, advanced. This is considered level 3. And then it serves as a foundational text for Buddhist practitioners and monastics. And it offers a roadmap based on the Buddhist canon for progressing towards Buddhahood. And Buddhahood as opposed to arhatship. Arhatship is liberation. And that will be covered in chapter 4 of this book. But Buddhahood is it in, Buddhism in its entirety. So this book, the target audience, when the Master Yinshun gave the lecture, it was to Buddhist monks and nuns, right? And now it has evolved so that people are using this book to teach practitioners, serious practitioners. This is not meant for like an introduction to Buddhism. For introduction to Buddhism, you should have taken other courses, like read, based on the book, What the Buddha Taught, or even the introduction to Buddhism that we developed in South America. After that course, introduction, and then you really want to get serious about the practice and also understand the philosophy and the full scope of the Dharma, then you need to start with this book. That's why today is a really, really auspicious day, right? To start the explanation of this book. And so what is the structure of this book, right? First of all, this book has 5 chapters. So chapter 1 is taking refuge and revering the triple gem. Chapter 2 is listening to the Dharma to enter the path. Okay. And then will be 3 chapters that follow. Chapter 3, 4, and 5 will be Dharma common to the 5 vehicles, then Dharma common to the 3 vehicles, and then distinctive Dharma of the great vehicle. Okay. So I'm not covering the text yet. I haven't started yet. I'm just giving you a structure. And then perhaps I can prepare like slides of these things. But remember, very shortly, this will all be published in our Canal Senda, our YouTube channel. So this book, when was it translated? Well, first of all, I became a monk at age 24, so that was back in 1993. And then I actually came across this book in the year 2000 through my teacher, Yinshun, who was the eldest disciple of Master Yinshun. And then here I have a picture for you. So this is Master Yinshun right in the center. And this picture was taken in 2003. This is my teacher, Master Zhihan. And then Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi from Sri Lanka, an American monk. He joined Bodhi Monastery in 2002. And then this is me when I was much, much younger. Yeah. So my master, Zhihan, he used the Path to Buddhahood as teaching material. And then we had to memorize, or I had to memorize, not everybody. I found out later that other people didn't have to memorize, just me. All the verses in this book. Okay, every day I had to go to his room and then give him the book and the verses, and then join my palm 那个有海无边际，世间多忧苦，流转起还没，何处是依护？积聚皆消散，崇高必堕落，何会要分？I had to do that every day, okay, like a little elementary school student, yeah, which I enjoyed thoroughly. So this book, I came in contact with it back in year 2000. And then in 2002, I already started to translate it into English. Okay, so I just want to give you an idea of this. Okay, so this is the book in Chinese, okay, like this, okay. And then in 1998, the book was published in 1960, right? So in 1998, someone in California translated it. But it's actually more an interpretation rather than a translation. It's called The Way to Buddhahood. And then when I was in Bodhi Monastery learning with my teacher, Yinshun, I would actually give lectures based on this book to people. But the problem was that I noticed that it's actually an interpretation. It does not capture the tone, the way Master Yinshun explains the Dharma. And then it kind of like tried to do a summary of what he says. Right? So based on this English version, someone translated into Spanish. So as you know, translation of a translation. Well, you know. So the tone of the phrases, the way the Dharma is explained is not in the way that Master Yinshun would say it. Okay. So in 2008, I started to teach in South America, in Argentina. And then what I did was I would take the Chinese, right, and then just give the lecture, right, like translate like instantly into Spanish and give the lectures. And then it was very, first of all, my Spanish at that time back in 2008 was kind of like that. And then I was not satisfied. So I started to do translation back in 2008. Yeah. Again, into Spanish. And then I did chapter 1 and then didn't even get to chapter 2. And then 2009, I started to learn Portuguese and started to translate. So guess what? This particular version that we'll be reading today is actually based on the revised translation of the Portuguese back in 2023. And then guess what happened in 2022? ChatGPT happened, and then I started training Dharma GPT. And then with Dharma GPT, we took our final version of the Portuguese and then turned it into Spanish and then English, and then did revisions. 2 or 3 revisions. Okay. The English, anyways, all I'm trying to say is that it has been a very grueling, painful process. So the fact that you guys are reading this, consider yourselves lucky. Very, very lucky. Okay. And then, so all this was made possible due to the pandemic. Because of pandemic, I could not travel as much. And then so 2020, 21, 22, 23, I started to devote a lot more time into this translation. So right now, currently, we have the chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 in English, all revised and ready for explanation. And then Spanish, it's up to chapter 3, and then Portuguese is up to chapter 4, moving into chapter 5. Without further ado, let's start with the path to Buddhahood. Chapter 1. The original can be found in CBeta Online in Chinese, and then that's the link. And I will provide all of these things. You don't need to write them down. And then Dharma GPT, if you wish to use Dharma GPT that I trained to be your Buddhist Dharma teacher, it's perfect. You can have conversation about Nagarjuna's work on Madhyamaka, with Master Yinshun, whatever. And I have input sufficient stuff so that you can have a great conversation with it. And with diacritics, all the Pali and Sanskrit terminologies. Okay? So here we go. Chapter 1. Taking refuge and revering the triple gem. Now, the word here is taking refuge. It's not taking refugee. Okay? It's taking refuge. It's a refugee, you need to add an extra E to it. Okay? And revering, honoring, paying respect to the triple gem, or the 3 treasures. Now, why I use triple gem and why not use 3 treasures or 3 gems? It'll be explained later on in this chapter. Okay? So, the text says, to study Buddhism means to learn from the Buddha. So I'm highlighting literally every single terminology that you as a serious practitioner or monastic need to memorize. Okay? Buddha, right? The word Buddha. What does it mean? The word root is B-U-D-H. And then Buddha means, the word root means to awaken, to wake up. And then so Buddha means the one who has awakened. So we take the Buddha as an ideal, take the Buddha as a teacher and model, and learn incessantly from the Buddha. If we reach the same level as the Buddha, this is achieving Buddhahood. Okay? So in English, when you say a state, you can use either hood or you can use ship. So a related term to this would be Arhatship. S-H-I-P. So it's determining a state. So Buddhahood is a state of Buddha. Now, I highlighted the same level, meaning This is what Buddhism is completely different from all major religions. Here we have the founder, the Buddha Shakyamuni, or Siddhartha Gautama, his name as a prince. He achieved perfect enlightenment, and he achieved Buddhahood, the postdoctorate degree of spirituality, complete enlightenment. And then, after he achieved it, he taught, and he said, all of you humans have the potential to reach Buddhahood. If you follow my teachings, you can reach the same level and be called a Buddha someday. So this means here's a founder of a religion, right, who tells you, if you follow everything I do, you can become exactly like me. You name me another religion that offers the same. There is no such thing. Buddhism, as far as I know, is the only one. So this is very different from Buddhism. And also, what the Buddha teaches in most of his texts, it's human psychology. How to purify the human mind. It's not about revering the Buddha, like with blind faith, like just paying homage to him. No, it's about following his path. Buddha is the great awakened one, the great compassionate one, the one who has perfected all virtues, the great sage who is definitely unsurpassable. Unsurpassable meaning cannot be surpassed. There's no level higher than this. So for ordinary people in the cycle of birth and death, with few merits and without wisdom, wanting to cultivate the practice to this supreme and unsurpassable fruit of Buddhahood is definitely not easy. Okay, so highlighting ordinary people. What's the definition of ordinary people? It's about people who still have greed, hatred, and ignorance. Attachment to I and mine. Me included. We are all ordinary people, trying to strive towards being a noble people. That's the opposite. Ordinary versus noble. Okay, these are the terminologies that you need to learn. Cycle of birth and death. That's literally the definition of samsara, meaning this endless cycle of birth and death, and in between aging and sickness. Birth, aging, sickness, and death. Birth and death. This endless cycle is a spiral with few merits and without wisdom. Merits, it's related to compassion, and wisdom is related to the realization of sunyata, prajna. So Buddhahood is not easy. If it were so easy, I don't need to give you a lecture. You just become a Buddha sitting in your couch. So, continuing. For this, they must certainly study the necessary method of cultivation, following the correct path to Buddhahood, becoming able to go from the near to the far, from the superficial to the profound, until reaching the goal of Buddhahood. Therefore, when generating the mind, the resolution, and then we often call this mind the Bodhi mind, the mind that wishes to awaken, to practice the Buddhadharma, they must cultivate the methods to become Buddhas, walking the correct path to Buddhahood. And the correct path is the path to Buddhahood. Generating the mind. It is when, like the movie Matrix, Morpheus, on one hand has the red pill, and on the right hand has the blue pill, and says to Neo, if you take the red pill, I will show you how deep this hole is. I will show you what is Wonderland, what it's really about. But if you choose to take the blue pill, just go back to sleep. And you will not even realize that this happened. This is just a bad dream that you wake up from. So, guess what? Most people, as we know, would choose the blue pill. They take the blue pill, not wanting to wake up. And it's all good. It's a choice. It's free will. Free will to remain in the cycle of birth and death and not wanting to escape from that. And then take suffering as something really yummy, right? Oh, I suffer. I lived. Like all the great tango songs. To live is to suffer. To suffer is to live. To have passion is to live. And passion will bring you suffering. Endless suffering. Okay, so that would be blue pill. Red pill is like you look at the hamster running on the wheel and you go, oh my goodness, I feel like the hamster. I need to do something about this. Okay, what to do? Maybe I should listen to Venerable Zhihan talk about the way to Buddhahood. And that's why you're here. Okay, continuing. The Buddhadharma, in order to adapt to the different disposition of beings, has various paths. The path of merits and the path of wisdom. The difficult path and the easy path. The worldly path or mundane path and the transcendent or transmundane path. The path of the Sravaka and the path of the Bodhisattva, etc. Okay, so here. What is the path of merits? It's referring to path of compassion, of serving, helping, charity, generosity, right? Doing food banks. All these things is the path of merits. Serving, service, even working in hospitals, attending to people's needs, alleviating suffering. That's the path of merit. And the path of wisdom is actually the path of purification, right? The difficult path and the easy path. What's the difficult path? It's the path of liberation. I have to purify myself. I have to reduce every day my greed, my hatred, and my ignorance, and not justify, auto-justify, self-justifies. It's okay to be a little bit greedy. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be a little bit angry. It makes me feel alive to feel angry. And then, ignorance is bliss. Yeah, right. So that's the difficult path is to reduce greed, hatred, and ignorance. And the easy path, as opposed to the difficult path, as an example, it would be it's so difficult for me to reduce my greed, hatred, and not even mention ignorance. Let me just recite the Buddha's name and help that the Buddha, or even Bodhisattva, the Kuan Yin, Avalokiteshvara, Kishitigarva, please give me strength. Help me reduce my greed, my hatred, and my ignorance. The worldly path, mundane path, it just indulge in all the five senses with what you see, the visual, the auditive, with the smell, the taste, the touch, just indulge in all these worldly things. And that is the worldly path, which is not the Buddha path. And the transcendent path is the path towards liberation, towards Buddhahood. The path of the Shravaka is the sound hearers, meaning the original disciples of the Buddha, the historical disciples of the Buddha, the path of liberation. And the path of the Bodhisattvas, meaning the path of those who, through alleviating suffering of beings, they somehow purify their own greed, hatred, and ignorance. Through benefiting others, they are benefiting themselves, etc. So this is just names of path, right? So this Master Yinshun is just giving examples. So despite all, and there are many, many paths, named in the Lotus Sutra and different sutras, despite all, there are not two paths. Just one path. For all of them are nothing more than methods for attaining Buddhahood. Nothing more than the desire of the Buddha for beings, sentient beings, to be revealed and manifested so that they may awaken and penetrate into the vision and knowledge of the Buddhas, of all the Buddhas from the past, present, and future. That is the sole purpose for the Buddha to give the teaching. It's so that sentient beings, meaning us, can be revealed and manifested, right? So that we may awaken and penetrate into the vision and knowledge of the Buddha. Therefore, it is said, one path and one purity, one taste and one liberation. And further, there are many skillful means or expedient means, also translated, but to return to the origin, there are not two paths. Origin refers to the purity. No ignorance, just wisdom. And here it gives an analogy, Master Yinshun. Like the great Yangtze River in China, which from its source has many streams, many lakes, many creeks, and many tributaries, all converging and joining to flow into the ocean. So too are all the methods of the Dharma, which are nothing more than the path to Buddhahood. Hence, in the Agama Sutras and the Lotus Sutra, or Saddharma Pundarika Sutra, the Buddhadharma is called the path of one vehicle, Ekayana. So, for those of you who know Chinese, you will notice how much easier I make it for you by translating into English. Because in the Chinese, oh my goodness, translating these words, it was just mind-boggling, head-turning, blood-boiling. I'm telling you, it was very painful. Okay, continuing. The triple gem is the general structure of the Buddhadharma. Taking refuge and revering the triple gem is the initial basis for entering the gate of Buddhism. So triple gem is highlighted because triple gem refers to, and then often it's translated as three treasures or three gems, right? It's referring to the Buddha gem, Dharma gem, and Sangha gem. That is the general structure. Remember, this is not to be taken lightly. It is the general structure of the Buddhadharma. What does it mean? You enter the path of Buddhadharma through the triple gem, taking refuge and revering the triple gem, practicing according to the Buddhadharma. And when you reach Buddhahood, what do you come to? You join the triple gem. You are the triple gem. That is the general structure of the Buddhadharma. You start with, you end up at, as one with the triple gem, as one with Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. All Buddhas, they are the manifestation of Buddha, Dharma, and then they form the Sangha. And some Buddhas, according to text, they did not even form Sangha. It's just Buddha and Dharma. The merits of the triple gem are truly immeasurable, limitless, and inconceivable. Okay, merits of the triple gem. What are we referring to? It's referring to all the wholesome, positive, karmic energy in the universe of all the Buddhas, all their teachings, and all the followers of the teachings. That's the marriage that we're talking about. If you take refuge and you revere, you connect to the triple gem, you have access to all the merits, you will be blessed. You will be helped. Because it is truly immeasurable, limitless, and inconceivable. You cannot conceive because it's limitless. However, and it's a big however, if we do not take refuge in the triple gem, we cannot obtain them and we will not be able to enjoy them. And here is what those people who just want to learn the Dharma, practice meditation, and go, I don't subscribe to any religion, and then I know a lot of agnostics who tells me that. And then by now, I know that all agnostics are nothing more than closet Buddhists. They are just Buddhists who refuse to take on the title and the sticker. I'm an agnostic, very proudly say, I don't subscribe to any religion. I'm not any ist. I'm not ist of anything. But they believe in cause and effect. They love learning about karma and consequence. They practice meditation. They are nice people. They try to be compassionate. They practice everything literally. And then they say to me, Sifu, I don't think I need to become a Buddhist because I'm already a Buddhist. And I will say, yeah, if you say so. But do they have access to the merits of the triple gem? I'm sorry. You don't. Why? Because it is the conscious, free will choice of saying, I want to tread the path of the Buddha, of this Buddha Shakyamuni and all the Buddhas before, this path that leads to perfect, correct enlightenment, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. And if I do, then I will receive the help and merits. Because a lot of agnostics that I know, they struggle and they keep struggling because they cannot embrace the triple gem. This is exactly like not having access to the entrance of a park. It's like you're in a park, and here we have the QE Park here in Vancouver, right? And you're like walking around QE Park, and you see the rose garden. Oh yeah, it's nice. But you don't walk towards it. You don't enter the park. You're just around the perimeters of the park. And you see up there in the conservatory, you see the flowers. You see from afar. You don't get near. You don't smell the flower. You don't get close. You don't enter. You stay at the gate, looking at the park, can you fully appreciate? Okay, in this way, it will not be possible to appreciate the tranquility and beauty of the grove, the flowers, and the trees, because you're not within that energy. You're outside of that energy. You're outside of that resonance, that frequency. You're not like resonating with the triple gem. So therefore, you're just an onlooker. You're looking at it. You don't get near. Therefore, to generate the mind to practice the Buddhadharma, one must first begin with taking refuge in the triple gem. And here, I'm really, truly making a very strong case for those of you who already practicing meditation, really resonate with the Buddhist philosophy, and then you feel like a closet Buddhist. Take that step into taking refuge, and then truly be blessed and receive the help from the triple gem, this universal force of wholesomeness, of purity. Continuing. In search of refuge. Here we go. Stanza number 1. Okay, so here you need to understand about this book. There are stanzas. And then, let me see. I can't remember. Last time, did I count how many stanzas? Yeah, well, I'll let you know how many stanzas there are in total. But the in search of refuge, it starts with a stanza. Why the stanza? And these stanzas are in bold. Okay? So this is where the genius of Master Yinshun needs to be praised. Back in 1950 something, when he gave the lectures in the Fuyan Institute, he did not go in with a transcript or a lecture written. He just went in and wrote 有海无边际 on the blackboard. 世间多忧苦，流转起还没，何处是依护? That's how he wrote. And then he started looking at the verse and just explaining word by word. And as he explains, the transcript in the end has everything. Every single word in the verse is reflected in the Chinese. And then, guess what we did in English? We achieved the same. When you see these words in bold, that's the same word in Chinese, and then it's here. So every single word, ocean, exist, boundless, world, full of worries and suffering, flowing and turning, emerging, sinking, again, object, refuge, protection, every single key word appears in the English. So I hope you appreciate our translation. So this is a stanza. Now, I have asked my team, and I talked to some people that are very good with poem, that we will tweak this so that the poem, it rhymes well also in English, so that we can actually memorize it. And that would be so cool for those of you who don't want to learn Chinese. Okay, so seeking refuge requires a sincere mind in the search for safety. Just like a person who has fallen into the open sea, drifting and being carried by the waves, looking around and seeing nothing but the ocean. So, sincere mind. What's a sincere mind? Is sincere mind in Buddhadharma like blind faith? Eyes closed? Is that sincere? No. Sincere mind is an open mind. It's a humble mind. A mind willing to listen, to hear what the Buddha has to say what the Dharma has to say, and then logically, rationally reflect and try to make sense and apply it in daily life. That's sincere mind. And it says, just like a person like falling into the open sea, drifting and being carried by the waves, and it's trying to, it looks around, it's just ocean. Being on the brink between life and death, upon spotting a tuft of seaweed or a patch of foam, they will try to reach it for support and to float. Upon hearing the sound of the wind or the singing of the birds, they will cry out for help. So this is a great analogy, a great imagery for you to think. What kind of person will have a sincere mind in search for safety? I have met far too many people doing well in life, relatively healthy, with a good job, good family, good wife, good husband, good kids, good parents, good this, that, and they think, I have a perfect life. They feel safe. They don't feel like they're swimming in the ocean. They feel they got life figured out. I know. I am. I know what to do. Everything is in control. I control my life. Ha 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 ha. Give them time. And I say, give anybody 10 years when they tell you, I have a perfect life. Just give anybody 10 years. And then for sure, within the 10 years, you will know. If nothing external happens, well, your body will tell you, hey, this monk was not always wearing glasses, I started this back in, actually the last few years. I got these prescription glasses when I was 46. Okay? And then didn't have to wear until the past 2 years. So, the sincere mind is someone who knows, who realizes, like Neo in the film Matrix, something is off. Yeah, I'm called Mr. Anderson, and I have this life, and I go through loops, and everything seems the same. The cloud seems the same. Everyone around me says the same thing over and over again. Something is off. So, and then when you take the red pill, I'm sorry, you realize how desperate the situation really is. Continuing. The desire to call for rescue is extremely genuine. And then I just described to you that most people don't have the desire to call for rescue. If they don't encounter the Murphy's Law, which I cannot say the SHIT word, right? But if they don't encounter the Murphy's Law, they don't have any desire to call for rescue because they are in control. They think they are in control. They are omnipotent. They control everything. They control people. They control conditions. They say and it will happen. They think. It can be said that only the instinct for survival remains. To survive. Oh my goodness, this is so sad. To be alive is just to survive. Oh my goodness. I want to live. I want to live and really got this figured out. I don't want to just survive. Survive is almost like you're drowning and you just take the gas of air and you're surviving. That's most people's life. I want to be above waters and floating at least and live. Be clear. Truly know. Mindful of this body, this mind, my environment, and remaining that tranquility and not resonating with greed, hatred, and ignorance. So at this moment, if a ship is passing by and throws a rope or a life buoy, wouldn't that person grab it immediately and climb aboard the ship with all their strength? Yeah, but what if it's a pirate ship? You get robbed again. You become a slave. So it's, it better be a good ship, the right ship, the correct ship. And then we're saying that the correct ship being analogy of the path to Buddhahood. That ship. So the sincerity in the search for refuge must have the same intensity as the sincerity of the person who has fallen into the sea and is seeking survival. Only then will the wonderful virtues of seeking refuge be fully realized. Okay. So connect. Ask yourself, am I sincere about my search of the Dharma? Am I sincere in my practice? Or this is just a pastime? This is just on the side. Now, let us consider the analogy of floating and sinking in the ocean of suffering. The world is based on the existence of beings who possess what? They possess consciousness. And possessing consciousness meaning that they have feelings and life. Okay, that is the literal definition of sentient beings. And then existence. So when we say existence in Buddhism, in Chinese it's you. Okay? That is referring to sentient beings who possess consciousness, have feelings, and have life. So, does a rock have feeling and life? No, it doesn't even have consciousness. Does a vegetable have feelings? No, but it has life. But does it have consciousness? No. So, it's organic. It has cycles, but it has no consciousness. But us human beings, animals, sentient beings, we feel and we have life. Each sentient being, when looking at the past, sees that they have lived through countless lives, afterlives. If you think that you were born to this world with all your personality and everything, and you think that you got it all from your parents, think again. Or you think that you got it from your grandparents or your ancestors, think again. No. Come from your past lives, lives after lives of patterns and patterns, repeated patterns. Patterns with lessons unlearned cause us suffering. Patterns that we have developed that are good skills will bring us happiness and peace. And for most of us, ordinary people, there is always more suffering than happiness. So countless lives after lives. And before being liberated from birth and death, in the future, they will also have countless lives after lives. The flow of the existence of the lives of sentient beings continues indefinitely and extends like the vast, boundless ocean. This present life is just another wave. One wave, not two waves, rising and falling in the ocean of life. Oh my goodness. I thought my life now is an ocean. No, it's just a wave. Just one wave. One segment of this beginningless lives and leading to endless life if I don't do anything about this. So, here, is it possible? Many people ask me, "Oh, Shifu, is it possible to see your past lives?" Of course it is, but you need to work on it. You need to meditate. You need to learn the techniques. You need to gain insight. Because everything that this consciousness is carries like the river that carries all past lives, those patterns. Think of consciousness as a river. A river flows and keeps flowing, but it never flows through the same spot again. But wherever it flows, that river already carved out something, a pattern. So the Buddha, what about the Buddha? According to the Buddhist text, in Agamas and even Mahayana Sutras, the Buddha in the first part of night. Night has 3 parts. Part 1, part 2, part 3. Just like day has 3 parts. The Buddha in the first part of the night, what did he see? He saw through profound meditative state, he saw his endless, beginningless lives in the past. Emerging, submerging, rising, falling, all the waves. And he saw him drowning his past lives in ignorance, in greed, and hatred, until such time that arrived in this lifetime, that he reached correct, perfect enlightenment, unequaled enlightenment. And then in the second part of the night, he saw all sentient beings, not most or some, all sentient beings, all their past beginningless lives. And he saw the patterns in all sentient beings. Having seen his own past lives and all sentient beings' past lives, he realized ultimate dependent origination, non-self, no more attachment to self and others. And then in the third part of the night, he severed all his afflictions, defilements of greed, hatred, and ignorance, and became fully enlightened. So yes, the Buddha saw everything. So the Buddha understood how difficult it is for sentient beings to try to get out of this ocean of suffering. Because right after he attained enlightenment, perfect enlightenment, he thought to himself, this thing that I have realized, this universal truth, how would it be received by sentient beings? Should I teach it? Would they even listen to this? And he was considering, maybe I just don't need to teach it. Just, okay, that's it. And then Brahma, the great celestial being from the form sphere, all shooken up from this tremor of the enlightenment of the Buddha, came and appeared in front of the Buddha and said, please, teacher, you need to teach this. I have never seen this since I came into existence. I never felt this power of enlightenment. You need to teach this, even though sentient beings will have a hard time accepting this. But you need to leave something behind. And he asked 3 times, and the Buddha consented and said, okay, I will teach them. Continuing. From the past to the present, from the present to the future, life after life, this process of the passage of time It's called what? The world. Okay, loka, the world. It's talking about time and space. Every time it crosses and it just goes through that, and that passage of time and space and everything is called the world. When in Buddhism, when we call it the world, it's about that. It could be also the world. This world of the five aggregates of form, sensation, perception, volition, and consciousness. And the overall world. All the infinite consciousnesses, rivers of consciousness interacting in this world. So in this world, sentient beings experience much more suffering than happiness. And even so, happiness ends and suffering comes. Perhaps you think, no, my life is actually more happy than suffering. I have more happiness than suffering. Indeed, it is full of many worries and sufferings, which is why the Buddha described this condition as the pure accumulation of great suffering from worry, sorrow, affliction, and pain, etc., etc. The world of beings filled with worries and sufferings is like the flow of a whirlpool in the ocean, spinning and spinning, like spiraling. Suddenly, they are above the water, analogous to rebirth in the celestial and human realms. And suddenly submerged, analogous to rebirth in the three unfortunate destinies: hell, animal, and hungry ghost. Sentient beings emerge and sink again, sink and emerge, spinning continuously, but never managing to escape. This whirlpool of the ocean of suffering, with heads rising and sinking, is there any condition more sad and painful than this? If human beings fall into the ocean, they drift, being carried by the waves, and looking around, see nothing but the ocean. Yet they still know how to seek help and protection. How is it that sentient beings, floating in the ocean of suffering of life and death, do not seek help and protection, and do not seek liberation to reach the other shore? The other shore, meaning the opposite of this shore. We, those of us that are in this cycle of birth and death, we are in this shore of suffering, of greed, hatred, and ignorance. So if we take refuge in the Triple Gem and practice the Buddha path, then it's almost like we get on a boat, a canoe, and then we start rowing, alone or with others. Row towards the other shore, and the other shore represents nirvana, the ultimate place of quiescence, of tranquility, of liberation. When someone thinks about this, the desire to seek refuge and protection will naturally arise with sincerity and urgency. But what is the true object, true place of refuge and protection? Certainly, one cannot desperately cling to seaweed and foam as a life buoy. And that's seaweed and foam is talking about clinging on to anything. I know a fortune teller. The fortune teller is going to help me get away from suffering. I know this person. Past life regression. I was the queen of Egypt. I was Cleopatra. I was the emperor. I was the empress. Clinging on to all these little things that claim to be true refuge and true protection, but it's just nothing more like seaweed and foam. Because it's not going to save you. You're just going to sink again. It's all temporary, momentary. So, after stanza number 1, literally, if you wish to listen to more, then you have taken which pill? The red pill. And those of you who think, I've heard this before, I don't need this, I can go back to my life now, then you'll be taking the blue pill and you wake up and happily ever after. You wake up and then as if nothing happened. No one gave the lecture, you did not hear anything, it was just a bad dream. And then I'll stop here because next lecture, we'll start covering seeking refuge in worldly matters. Have I got a lecture for you? All right, so that's that for today. That's 1 hour already. And let's do a transference of merits together. Please put your palms together. I wish to eradicate the 3 obstructions and all defilements. I wish to attain wisdom and true understanding. I wish that all calamities and obstacles be universally extinguished. I shall constantly practice the Bodhisattva path, life after life.